Hey everyone, how's it going? Let's talk about fear. Yes, fear, it affects all of us, but almost no one really understands how it works or how to face it head on. Let me start with a powerful truth. There are two types of fear. The first type seems like it comes from your mind, but in reality it isn't yours. It's something someone planted in your head. Someone said something, you believed it, accepted it, and now it's become a problem. But whose problem is it? Yours. And then that fear grows, paralyzes you, and keeps you from moving forward. The second type is real fear, the kind that comes as a physical response. But listen, did you know it's impossible to live without fear? That's right, fear is like a brain addiction. The brain needs circuits to function, and fear is one of the most powerful. So, what happens when we don't control it? It takes over. But what if I told you that you can turn fear into something that drives you forward instead of holding you back? Let me explain. Fear is like a seed. It only grows if it finds the right soil. And do you know what that soil is? Your mind. It's in your mind that fear finds space to take root, grow strong and take over. But if you learn to control what you plant in your mind, you can replace fear with things that build you up, that strengthen you, and I'm going to show you how. Before we dive deeper, a quick message for my YouTube audience. I know many of you watch without interacting, but if you're here, leave a like. Seriously, it costs you nothing and helps spread this message a lot. Let's balance the number of likes with the number of people here, okay? Done? Great. Let's dive into the real talk about fear. Back to fear. Have you ever stopped to think that fear is attractive? That's right. It has a magnetic power. In the Bible, in the book of Job, it says, "What I feared has come upon me." This means that what we focus on, even if it's negative, has an incredible power of attraction. It's like fear is a magnet. So, if we're going to attract something, why not attract good things? If we're going to feel fear, let it be about ridiculously positive things, like succeeding, achieving huge goals, or completely changing our lives. I've been through this myself. There was a time when I was on a high mountain, facing something I never thought I could handle. It was terrifying, but do you know what happened? I overcame it, and that completely changed my view of fear. I discovered it can be defeated, but to do so, we need to understand its nature and learn to redirect our thoughts. Another important point, fear, like any other addiction, needs to be replaced. The brain doesn't know how to function without a circuit, without something it constantly repeats. If you don't channel it into something good, it'll choose something on its own, and it's usually something that doesn't do you any good. That's why I create positive addictions in my life. Right now, I'm addicted to racing. Yep, I've invested heavily in race cars, simulators, even a professional team. That might sound crazy to some, but for me it's an addiction that moves me, challenges me, and helps me grow. Now think about this. What are the addictions you have? Are they addictions that build you up or tear you down? Because in the end, you're the one who chooses what to get addicted to. If you're addicted to something that doesn't uplift you, like drinking, smoking, or even negative thoughts, it's time to replace it. Swap it out for addictions that help you grow, that push you forward. And why did I call this concept anti-fear? Because that's exactly what it is. It's not about denying fear, but using it to your advantage, transforming what paralyzes you into something that drives you forward. Once you understand this, your life will never be the same. Now pay attention to something very important. When someone plants a seed of fear in your field, which in this case is your brain, you need to understand what's really happening. That seed doesn't just grow in isolation, like a passing thought. It multiplies. And not just a little. A single seed of fear can turn into thousands of negative outcomes. For example, someone tells you, you need stability, you can't take risks, you have to follow the safe path. And what happens? That idea, that seed, starts to grow inside you, and before you know it, you're living a limited life based on the fear someone else planted. This happened to me. Coming from a family where everyone talked about stability, I heard things like, you need a steady job, make about $5,000 a month. But is that the peak of life? Is that enough for someone who wants more? Think about it. These days, 10,000 reais won't even fill up a boat's tank for a full ride. But do you know what the real problem was? It wasn't the idea of stability itself, but how many times that idea was repeated. It's like someone watered that seed for years, turning fear into something that felt like the only possible reality. The result? You don't just harvest for yourself, you harvest for everyone around you. Then you become a massive warehouse of fear seeds. Worse yet, you start passing them on to others. Have you noticed how some people seem to spread fear from generation to generation? It's like a cycle. They were taught to fear, reaped fear in abundance, and now they plant that same fear in others. Things like, you need to be stable, you can't take risks, be careful what you say, be careful what you do. All of this is just a contaminated field. Now, I want you to stop and reflect. Imagine your mind as a field. You're in control of that field. You decide what will be planted there. But to do that, you need to do something essential. Clean that field. It's like taking a plow and ripping through the soil, pulling out everything planted by others that no longer serves you.